Hello out there. This is day whatever it is, March 31st, day 4 of the state of the county stay-at-home order. I think this is actually day 1 of the state stay-at-home order, but we're working on page 8 here. Um, Sort of in the idea of where we're bouncing around from character to character. Now we're in Rusty and Elliot's. Before we're getting a glimpse at Rusty and Elliot before we see Brody doing a little out of order in the way the books are going, but we're doing the composite image, and this is a fantasy sequence. Um, Sort of because I didn't really want to take the time of reopening, of like closing and reopening these different sets. I ended up opening the fantasy sequence um, in the pro release of Daz Studios, which I think. Well, oh, okay, there we go. Which I think at this point is older than the beta version I've got installed. Open as layers. What are we doing now? So let's go blur Gaussian. In So whereas in the gym I was going with 3 to blur the exterior, here in Rusty and Elliot's apartment, because the outside buildings are a little further away, we're blurring them at 5. And I'm probably wasting my time doing this because I'm pretty sure that when this goes on the page, the window is going to get cut off anyway. But um, I think it'll be worth it if by some chance this image possibly ends up as a promo card later on. Once this project is done, I could potentially throw the title and author name over here in the corner and use this on Twitter as to promo the story. In which case, that won't be quite so useless. But we will export as. Um, as you've probably seen reading with the last page, the sequence here. I think what I wanted to do was, because Elliot ended up narrating their story, I sort of wanted Rusty to narrate their portion of this one to make it a little more fair. So I had kind of the exchange on the previous page, sort of breaking the fourth wall, where they get into the little back and forth over who should be telling the story. And since Rusty's, see, there goes the window, but you know, since Rusty's telling the story, we'll sort of get the little fantasy sequences involving him and Tamara, and it'll be hopefully a little different from this kind of tame fantasy sequences. I'm kind of thinking there's sort of like a little bit of a sadistic edge to this, and a very little bit, not like a completely sadistic, evil, like dark, but just a very, very, very slight, as you'll see by the end of the page here. You'll see what I mean when we get there. Let's see. Let's see, and the text is white. So get this. Yeah, no, it's fine there. Okay, that's fine. And sort of the theme I've been going was to use like, some of the metal textures from my texture collection. The idea is the text bubbles were going to be metal backgrounds. I think it was a theme started with Little Bro, where I just, for the heck of it, used a metal texture for his or was it his? No, now top of my head now I can't remember which story it was. It might have been My Twin No More, where I used a metal texture to make the text box a little more interesting. So because I used the metal texture, I ended up expanding the theme and used metal backgrounds for all the characters with a different background to denote the different characters. Um, Layered image size. The challenge I think throughout the series has been, while there are a few textures that sort of contrast well with either white or black text lettering, um, it's actually been harder. It was actually harder than I thought to find enough metal textures in the folder that contrasted well for all the characters. Let's see. Okay, I can reuse that one. So, um, and the thing I'm finding with his box is that only a portion of it, because there's some white portions of this field, there's certain, is like, I think the top left corner, I've got to make sure I can't use it. It ends up blending with the white letters, so I've got to make sure that whichever section of the box I use, I exclude that corner. I think Rusty is going to have to go out of this picture. Let's pop him in that folder. Just make him go away. And we'll do like a standard like flexing pose here. Um, what do we want? 5A. I think I'm gonna come out just a little. Oh, I never did. Oh yeah, I did cut this. Okay. Okay, how's that? Give some room. There we go. There, let's see, edit, paste it as a new layer. I don't want to use make made into from panels, so we'll go, I can't believe I'm as big as you, Rusty. And also here in the fantasy, because this is a fantasy, he's imagining her as big as him when there's not enough ink to make her this big. But because it's a fantasy, he doesn't care. He's imagining it anyway. And in some ways, this is sort of foreshadowing what's coming because as of this point, I'm imagining sh- that she's going to be the one that they're going to have to make her big to fight the ladies. Sort of going with a theme that I really don't want to showcase like violence towards women. So it's so I'm like kind of struggling with the idea that like all my heroes are these big guys, and that sort of at the climax of the story when the women make themselves big, that you're going to have like male heroes against female villain beating on female villains, and I really don't want that. So the plan um, is that there's going to be like this is going to be sort of like uh, you're going to get like the female muscle growth in here. That there's going to be sort of some young ladies on their side of the fight to fight against the women. So you don't have that sort of like battered woman appearance going on. That doesn't mean I won't have the guys fighting the ladies, but like at some point in that scene, oh, wow, that's, that's actually a nice body composition right there. She's actually kind of like Elliot's figure. Elliot's not so inflated like the other guys are in this story, in this series. Let's go B. Da, 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 da. I gotta put her in the clothing folder. Then we bring in the outdoor, turn off furniture and building, and render that. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I probably should have her breasts bigger, but she's supposed to be 16 like Rusty and Elliot are, so I don't. So you sort of want a little bit of sexy, but not. But I don't want to like make it. Um, I don't want to like completely turn her into a sex symbol. So we'll just keep it tame. Let's go file open his layers. Filter blur Gaussian again 5. And then export as you. Hmm. Let's open as layers. And let's see. I think I gotta bring it over just a little. You know what? I want that beam off. This beam is going to create a weird border where I've already got a border, so I'm going to try and cut it off. There we go. Layer to image size. And merge that down. Let's see. We're going to take her and Rusty out on parent. Delete keys. Oh, that's right. She's still holding the bottle. Okay, that beam is going to annoy me. Yeah, sort of like on the near breaking of the fourth wall. Oops, that beam is going to annoy me. I could take that beam out, but it's probably a pain in the butt. I had an idea in the, the last couple of days, and it's not really a developed idea. Um, would kind of play off the breaking of the fourth wall. Um, Layer transform. Sort of, it's like Let's see. Perfecter. This is Rusty we're talking about, so he wouldn't say more perfect. So he wouldn't say it correctly. But sort of the idea is that you have sort of it's sort of a scrawny character who decides to hit the gym and sort of to try and make himself not so scrawny. Whoops, Control C. Sort of with the gym full of big guys, he's quickly discouraged. He's quickly discouraged and wants to jump into steroids. And then you have sort of like I sort of inject me as the creator pops in sort of sort of like the godlike figure in the story or whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call the role. To go on like the whole steroids are bad message, even though basically in like the muscle growth stories, all these all these like magical ways that they're like plot devices that you come up with for how they get like big and strong are basically just analogies of steroids anyway. The idea is you come in with this like sitting on your high horse steroids are bad attitude, and then you just have him like, you know what, I'm gonna make and get the author direct the creator directly addressing the character to tell him that the trigger is going to be hard work and eating right, and that he'll get the character that it'll be like the hard work. So he finds out everybody in the gym who's using steroids because they start losing size like crazy. Well, like the harder he pushes himself and the more he cleans up his diet, the more comical his growth becomes. Maybe he finds out like a couple of the guys in the gym aren't losing their size, and that's when he tells them like the guys who are natural and who are where they are through hard work and dedication. And you kind of go through that message, but like I like the idea of just injecting like me, like the creator, into the story is like the is like the catalyst for everything. It's like there's like no magic swimming pools or vat of chemicals. Whoops, this is going to be 33. I think it's going to be there, right? Oh, what do I want to do? invert, edit, cut, select none. Let's make her smile some more. She's good. Actually, no, smile. Open. Yeah, okay, that works. Bring him in. Let's get a little touchy. Actually, probably pull back, right? Let's see. I can bring him in closer, right? I think because of the angle, I don't need this to be perfect. So we'll just kind of put the hand there. See, there we go. The hand is hidden, so. $27. This way. New perfect order. We could rule the world, man. The cliches are endless. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, no, I don't like that. Let's see if I can't get it. I don't think this is going to. Maybe I can do it manually. Nope. Actually, if I stretch it out, oh, this is really going to. This is really not going to work, is it? Hmm. Okay. I guess I'll stretch it out. I really wish I could get these to the next line instead of having them at the end of a line. But can't always get what you want. Hmm. Like I said, I don't really know what to do with the story idea, and I am kind of like looking forward to eventually getting to do that story burn pit I keep talking about. Which it's looking like it kind of feels like it's coming sooner rather than later, since I'm now like working on the last part of this story. Yeah, okay. You know what? I haven't saved this, so let's save as. I'm going to change this to page 8. There we go. And then teddy bear. It's kind of annoying with all this like coronavirus fear. I've basically just got like the standard springtime. I don't know if it's fair to call it a cold because it's not really that bad. It's just like this little irritation in the throat that ends up sort of I guess kind of triggering other things that like it otherwise wouldn't. So you kind of end up with I might have to zoom out on these two and do this picture again. No, that'll work. I really don't need to see his, but what is going on? Oh, okay, it's just I'm looking at this little bit of flesh coming in and wondering if it's poked through, but it's just I took at the camera. So it's like right now the temperatures are just kind of swinging back and forth. we've I don't think we've really had a formal spring. Well, it always feels like we go right from winter to summer with maybe like a week or two of actual spring, but it's kind of that point right now where we're going back and forth from solid spring temperatures into sort of nicer early summer. And it's like the cooler spring days kind of irritate things, and then this eases up on the warmer days. So I didn't have this yesterday, but it's like you kind of have it um, sort of last week when it was a little cooler again, and it goes back and forth. But it's like the coronavirus kind of makes you like hyper aware of it, the whole coronavirus thing. So it's like it's like you don't have the fever, or it's not like I wouldn't say it's like a real cough. It's just kind of when it tickles my throat, right, like it did a minute ago. I'm not getting like the fever or the chills or anything like that. And what did I do? Did I even? No, I didn't. Okay, I'm talking and I'm forgetting what I'm doing here. Invert, shrink. Okay. It's just like this little irritation that I like always get. Plus, it's the thing we deal with here too is the pollen because there's a lot of pine in the area. And like I guess there's other trees too that kick up pollen. We end up like every spring we end up with like a ridiculous amount of pollen in the air. And it's like the news always like talks about people with allergies, and it's like people with allergies. Like there's so much pollen. Like let's see. Let me hold that thought for a minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to save that, and then okay, because this is an older version, it's complaining. So this is, well, we put this in Rusty's apartment fight, so I'll just save it there. Yeah, and then we'll come back to this one. Excuse me. So that's like the other thing, like we're dealing with here is like everybody's like coughing, sneezing, and sniffling because of all the pollen is getting in. All the pollen gets into like your system. It's like starts mucking up your nose and makes your throat feel like this right now. And then the coronavirus just makes you like look at everybody with suspicion. When there's really like nothing going on. Like, oh boy. Actually, I'm going to twist him a little bit more. Okay, so now we're back here in reality. As you can tell by the lighting setup. Oh shoot, this isn't 24. This is going to be 28. And I'm going to go ahead and close this since I don't really need that. Let's see. Currently used. Okay, that's good. Transform. So we're going to finish off this chapter on this page, or this part with them. Let's see. My surprise is this. Both our dreams. And then in the next page, we'll see is where we'll see Brody and we'll get him going. Edit, paste as, new layer. Oops. Okay. Before I go merging that down, I'm going to put this little 2 on the next line. Okay. And that means this can come in just a little bit more. And actually, because the spaces sort of making this look funny, we'll just split this manually instead of letting it carry from line to line. Looks good. Let's merge that down. As new layer. But I hope the rest of you out there sort of haven't been affected too badly by the coronavirus thing. Um, I'd have to say I'm kind of lucky here. I'm in sort of one of the top 10 largest states, and um, the number of cases hasn't really been too bad. And the number of deaths, I think I was just checking, is only about 12 from the coronavirus. Not that it's not going to get worse, but considering there are a lot of smaller states out there with a lot more deaths than ours and a lot more cases than ours, I'm pretty lucky here. And I have to say, like, I think we started closing, which is probably because we started closing off things. We started shutting things down, and we kind of took it a lot more serious earlier on than New York did. I think when, like, de Blasio initially announced that he was going to keep the schools open, it kind of raised eyebrows because we had already, like, announced that we were closing ours. And even my brother was saying, like, well, in all fairness, that was sort of on the weekend. The cases didn't blow up until the weekend, and as soon as they did, and it's like, it's like, I could understand that, but like a state like ours, we didn't wait for. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I'm getting too much in thought here. Layer scale. That's what I'm doing. I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing. And it's like, we didn't even wait for things to get serious before we took it serious. And I sort of rail on the stay-at-home order, but I mean that just goes to, it's like when I complain at the stay-at-home order, it's really just kind of, kind of point out that, like, we were taking it seriously before the government stepped in. Although not really, because I guess, like, the governor ordered things like the bars and restaurants closed before even the World Health Organization ruled it a pandemic. So I mean, they were taking, yeah, So I mean, I guess this has been coming in steps, but it's we're probably in a better position because what am I doing there? Because I think we took it a lot more seriously than New York did. And while we don't really have the population of New York or the density of New York, I think if anything, that should have prompted like Mayor De Blasio to have taken it more serious than we did. Um, but we do sort of we do sort of a hub. So like the cases we were getting, the first cases we got were coming from the northeast. Um, it's we sort of do have the constant exposure to areas that no, actually, no, I think no, our first case came out of Washington. I forgot, I'm kind of like our actually first case came out of Washington. Then I think the subsequent cases were coming from Boston. And what am I doing? It's like none. But I mean, this isn't, we're a big state, but we do have like constant exposure everywhere. We're not sort of isolated. We're not completely rural, that sort of thing. We kind of have the same outside exposure that everywhere else does. Let's see that. And I'm just rambling, and I guess because like I kind of wanted to do this, and then I'm sitting here silent most of the time. But you know, wait, what did I just do? Oh yeah, okay. I don't. I'm not. Now I don't even know. I've sort of lost complete track of this. This has just gone completely off the rails. Let's see. I guess that's a good shot. Like stuff. Tell me about it. And then we'll cut away because I'm sure if you've been reading these, I don't need to constantly recap what this stuff does. Even though I probably should, but I think the idea is sort of give the idea that they're recapping it off page. Let's see. Let's see. Oh my god. think it's the hair that's slowing this one down. But I think I'm gonna. I think you kind of get the idea of what's going to go on here. We'll just finish that picture and pop it in here, and that'll be the end of page 8. So I'm going to cut out. I figured this will be a good time to cut out since I really don't have much else to talk about. And I don't think you want to hear me rambling incoherently about some stupid thing or another. So I'm going to thank you for watching this one, tuning in, and I'll see you next time with our next coronavirus update here. And, again, stay safe, stay careful, stay healthy out there.